So I just got back from a 2-week vacation in North Carolina, and it was amazing. And one of the best parts was what I'm going to talk about today. I didn't have to record my video or my podcast or write my blog content, email marketing, social media, all of that great digital marketing content while I was gone. So how did I do that? Well, I batched all of my content, which I always do. So you know what the real problem with content creation is? Well, it's like being on a treadmill. Every single week, you have to write a new blog or record a new podcast. And then, like I said, there's the social media content, email marketing content, and all of your other digital marketing efforts that have to be created. And it never ends. It's one of the reasons why so many small business owners and clients that come to me fall off of the content creation train after usually a few weeks. So they start out really strong. They have a great editorial calendar created, hopefully, and then they fall off. They have a hard time, keeping pace. They start out strong and then they drop off. And, sometimes it starts by them missing, one episode or one blog post, and they say, I'll catch up next week, and then next thing you know, it's been 2 weeks. And before you know it, all of their content is on the back burner. And working in the digital marketing and virtual assistant industry for 20 years now, it's something that I've definitely fought against that urge as well, especially when you go on vacation, right? So I knew that on vacation, I was going to be doing a little bit of client work, but I definitely didn't want to be spending all of my fun family time working on my own marketing. And, after all, you have this nonstop barrage of content that's coming at you daily, so how do I keep on top of my clients' content while creating my own content week after week? So that's where batching comes in. So what this means is that I create all of my content at once. So rather than writing, blog this week, I take usually a full day and I plow through all of my content for the whole month. And to be honest, usually it takes a couple of days. I have to do social media for the month. I've got to write my blog posts for a month. I've got to record my videos for the month. I've got to do my podcast for the month and my email marketing for the month. So you get the idea. It usually does take some time, but it pays off. I can sit down on a morning, maybe a Saturday morning before anyone else gets up, and I can write all of the content for the following month. And it's a huge time saver. And, that way I can focus the rest of my time on my business, and my clients' business, without having to worry about keeping up with the constant demands of the content creation. So when it comes to batching, so you might be thinking, well, what kind of content can I batch? Oh my gosh, so much content can be batched. So blog posts for sure. I think blogs are the staple of content creation, and they're really a crucial part of building a fantastic website. They're also a great indication of how a business views the importance of their online presence. So abandoned websites have always reminded me of haunted houses. So those homes with the boarded up windows that no one's lived in over a decade. Those homes are almost impossible for real estate agents to sell because potential buyers instinctively recognize that their condition has deteriorated over the years. And that same instinct really kicks into gear when a potential customer sees an old website that hasn't been updated in months. They instinctively recognize that the business doesn't seem to care about their website, and thus maybe they don't care about their online customers. So the best way to avoid the trap of an abandoned website is to update it regularly. So unfortunately, content, when it comes to a content marketing strategy, it can take up a huge chunk of your week. There's so many parts that go into it: planning, writing, editing the blog. I mean, it can consume hours. And if writing isn't your thing, then it can take a lot longer than that. And the way to fix that is through batching. So if you sit down and write 4 blogs at a time, you don't have to worry about coming up with everything for the rest of the month. So that They're written, they're done, they're ready to be posted at the appropriate time. But if you aren't a writer, then paying for a professional to write all of your content really can be a lifesaver. It can be really a wise decision to keep your website up to date, as well as provide you with content that you can post elsewhere, social media, email marketing. And in fact, I have several clients that tell me that, they were super apprehensive about having someone else write their content, but once I took it over, then they follow up by saying that they're very pleased with the content and that they absolutely love not having it on their plate. It frees up so much space for them to focus on the parts of their business that they can't hand off, that special genius part of their business that really only they can do. So this also goes to podcasts. So podcasting is something that many small businesses have really started to explore. It's a great component to a content marketing strategy, and it takes a lot of time. It does. And while podcasting doesn't necessarily require the same level of writing as, say, a blog post does, of course, unless you're writing scripts ahead of time or you turn all of your content into very extensive blogs like I do, but the recording, editing, posting, all of that process is really time consuming. And trust me, when I first started this podcast that I record every week, that is when I really started to realize how much time goes into it, kind of different when I was doing it for a client. I knew it was taking a lot of time, but it's different when you're doing it for your own business. So, it really does take a lot of time. And I knew that for myself, the first time I recorded one and then edited it and got it up, and, I was like, I need to batch this. And so I batch all my podcasts together. And instead of recording one a week, then I record a month, all in a day. And that way I don't have to stress the rest of the month. It's amazing. And, have everything ready to go weeks in advance. And in my opinion, it's the only way to do a podcast without losing your mind. So that goes for videos too. So everything that I just said about podcast, that goes for the video you're watching right now. So I'm sure you've heard about YouTube burnout, right? So even the most prominent, successful YouTubers eventually run out of gas when writing, recording, editing, and posting a video every week. It's an incredible amount of work. But when you batch it together, then you can simply schedule your videos to go out at those predetermined times. And hiring someone to edit your videos for you can be a great way to reduce the burden on yourself and get your videos out on time every single week. And that goes for your podcast as well. So the next piece of content that you definitely can automate are lead magnets. So lead magnets, they're a little bit different from blog posts, podcasts, or videos because they don't really have a predetermined due date attached to them. So when you create a lead magnet, the intent is to provide your customers with something free, but also something super valuable that you can exchange for their email address. And you can grow your email list this way, but it needs to be amazing. And with that in mind, you really have to have at least one solid lead magnet on your website. But if you want to appeal to a variety of different clients, then you really should have multiple lead magnets, preferably one for each of your offerings, so your services or your products. Creating these can consume an incredible amount of time, which is why I recommend doing them in a single block. So there are several ways that you can cut down on the time required to create lead magnets. So when you create a lead magnet template, that can be super helpful. It's a great way to repurpose some of your older blog content. But generally, I found that the best way to get them done all at the same time is by really just sitting down, maybe taking a day on the weekend, writing it all out, editing, getting it all ready, or you could partner with someone like moi to help you with the whole process. Because when it comes to a lead magnet, it's a little bit different. You're not just doing writing content, right? So then once the content's done, then you're going to have to design it. It has to look really amazing when someone downloads it. But then you've got to get it on your website and you've got to get it hooked up to your email marketing system. And then you're going to probably want a nurture sequence to go with it. So there's all these other pieces that are really important. But either way, you want to make sure that you have them all finished at the same time, which means that then you can put your focus on the more important parts of your business. And another area that I like to batch is like online course creation. So if you batch together your digital lessons for an online course, then wow, you will be just on easy street. I mean, if you're running an online course, the last thing that you want is for your students to be waiting on you to complete your homework when coming up with the next lessons. And a lot of people do that, but if you're presenting online courses, it really does help, and it takes so much stress off of you if you do that all in advance. You have your lessons written, edited, and you've tested the whole process before you even go live. That way your students will be able to do the course at their own pace, or if it's, coming out, dripped out to them, it'll just be ready to go. You won't be scrambling at the last hour. Oh my gosh, I didn't get that, lesson done for this week. It'll all just happen for you. So when it comes to batching your content, there's a few steps that I usually follow. So the first one is I plan everything out. So before you even get started batching your content, you really should have a plan. So first you want to consider the type of content that you're going to be working on. And if you've created that type of content in the past, then you can use that information to create a projection of the amount of time that it'll take to complete a whole month's worth. And then next, you really want to figure out when you want the content to be published. You don't want everything to go live at the same time, obviously. You want to parcel it out over the month, and you want to make sure that everything's going out at the maximum time of engagement. So you want to make sure that your content's going out when your audience is most likely to check it out. So, for example, maybe posting a blog at 3 a.m. isn't going to be the most effective content marketing strategy. And then next you want to move into brainstorming. So after you've created the plan and you know what you're going to post and when, then you really have to dig into that what you're going to post. So that's when I really find brainstorming to be one of the most effective methods for coming up with original content topics. So I start with a simple list. So I try writing it down rather than doing it on the computer. I just grab a notepad and I jot it down, but do whatever works for you. I just find this works better for brainstorming sessions. So I'll jot down any ideas that pop into my head. And, I'll think through all of my products and services and questions that I've been recently asked, and I'll just jot down ideas. And then I consider those ideas in the context of the type of content that I'm going to create. So for example, if you work as a coach and you want to have a weekly blog, you might look at some of your, thoughts on paper, maybe coaching, life, health, and then develop a blog post topic like coaching, improving your life and health at the same time, something like that. Then next you'll move into creating an editorial calendar. So once you have all of those ideas jotted down on paper, you want to transfer them and get them formally organized into a content calendar. So an editorial calendar is a breakdown of your content topics into the periods you want to send them out. So personally, I organize mine by month. So each month I'll have 4 slots, one for each blog, one for each podcast, one for each video. Then I add a brief description of each to remind me what points I want to hit on in each topic. And as I complete them, I check them off. And the other reason why creating an editorial calendar is so important is that it provides you with a roadmap for scheduling all of your content, emails, social media. And if you're posting something on Tuesday afternoon, then you want to make sure that you have all of your supporting marketing ready to go out or drip out after that. Then next step, number 4, is to write and record. So this is the hard but fun part. So production tends to be the most time-consuming part of content creation. If you're writing a blog, then you need to compile all of your research, make an outline, get it down on paper, then write each section. If you're working on a podcast, then you need to pre-record, your content, have your notes, your talking points in front of you. You have to make sure you have everything set up so everything looks and sounds amazing. And batching your content can take this part of the process and make it feel very overwhelming. I mean, after all, writing approximately 4,000 words for 4 blogs isn't exactly easy. And that's why I believe so much in hiring a professional writer to help you with this. You can go through their work afterwards and make sure that it matches your voice. And the nice thing about working with the same writer over and over again is they get to learn your voice. And throughout that relationship, that really means that you'll end up doing less editing and tweaking on your end. And a lot of times you'll get the blog post and be like, this is amazing. This is even better what I thought it could be. And then you move into step 5, which is post-production and editing. So you've written your blog or recorded the podcast, and it's time to punch them up a bit. So you never want to post a blog or a podcast without going through it to make sure that it's the best it possibly can be. So for example, there isn't a professional writer on the planet who would send a blog post off without putting it through a grammar check, and in that process, you might also notice some places where it might read a little awkward, and that way you can do kind of an on-the-fly rewrite to make it even better. And if you're creating a podcast or you're recording a video, you don't want every single to be part of it. And that's why you need to edit. So this part of it can involve putting, theme music at the, intro and outro, editing, everything. And you can also be sure that the whole process is super time consuming. Even if you've never edited audio in the past, trust me, it's tricky, but you can use different tools out there. There's a lot of user-friendly programs for podcast beginners that can save yourself stress, or you can hire a professional editor to put all of the pieces of your podcast together, and it'll save you time and frustration and will deliver a better product as well. And then last but not least is to review. So you've done all of the work to create this amazing content. You now have, we'll say 4 blogs, they're ready to go, but hold on a minute. Before you do that, you should really review to make sure that everything really is 100% ready to go. For blogs, this can involve simply reading over them one last time to notice any last minute errors. A trick that I like to do is to read the blog out loud to myself. If I stumble over some words, that section might require a rewrite to make it even better. For podcasts, I give everything one last listen, especially if I have someone else edit it. You don't need to do it at full speed. You can speed it up. You can listen to it at, 2 times the regular speed, maybe a little bit less, but doing this saves you valuable time, but you want to make sure that you pay close attention. So what did we learn today? Well, let's kind of review what we learned. So the takeaway here is that you can batch blogs, podcasts, videos, lead magnets, digital course lessons, really any type of content that you release on a schedule. So batching your content can help you batch everything from social media to email marketing, really all forms of marketing. And when batching content, you can make a plan beforehand by brainstorming your content on paper before finalizing it into topics. And then you'll take those topics and create an editorial calendar that makes sure everything goes out on schedule. So writing a blog can take up hours. Writing 4 blogs can take 4 times as long. So really consider getting help. And if you're recording podcasts or video, make sure that you record them all together. Do at least a month's worth at a time. And then take the time to edit your content, especially if someone else is helping you write them or edits them for you. You really want to ensure that everything is coming out in your voice. And of course, again, you can hire professionals to help you with all of the editing. And always review your blogs, podcasts, videos before posting them, especially if someone else wrote them or edited them for you. No matter what type of content you're creating, it'll take time. That's just the nature of the beast. Blog posts especially can give small business owners a tough time. If you want to give your own blog writing a try, absolutely do it. Check out my free blog breakdown workbook. You can grab it at jennylyon.com/blog workbook. Inside, you'll find all of the steps involved to creating a well-crafted blog that will convert your website visitors into customers. And of course, if you don't have time to write your own content or you don't enjoy writing, and even if you are batching it and you just need help, maybe copy editing or getting it live, whether it's your blog, podcast, video, then definitely reach out. I'll be happy to help. Everything that I do for my clients, I do in my own business. So I'm super, super familiar with it. And I can help you create your content by batching it together. And so reach out. I'll be happy to answer any questions that you have. And I also do have a free content calendar that you can check out. You can grab it at jennylyon.com/content calendar. I hope you'll find it super helpful. And if you have any questions, please shoot me an email or leave a comment. I'll be happy to help. I'll talk to you next week.